Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London for your international news around the world in 5. Supporters of the Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro have defied the coronavirus lockdown and taken to the streets to call for an end to restrictions and the resumption of economic activities. Brazil currently has the second highest number of coronavirus cases in the world. In the capital, Brasilia, Bolsonaro was seen greeting anti-lockdown protesters, posing for photos and hugging a young girl. The far-right president has been widely criticised in his country and abroad for his handling of the pandemic and is at the centre of a deepening political crisis, with his name plummeting in the approval ratings. In response to the worsening pandemic in Brazil, the US administration on Sunday prohibited foreigners from travelling to the United States if they had been in Brazil in the past 2 weeks.
Doing a fantastic job, a great job.
China's foreign ministry in Hong Kong says some actions during last year's pro-democracy protests were terrorist in nature and have claimed troublemakers colluded with foreign forces. These remarks come after intense protests in the past weeks against the newly proposed national security legislation in Hong Kong. The new law could allow Chinese intelligence agencies to set up bases, and according to pro-democracy activists, it would limit the Hong Kongers' rights and freedoms. Burundi's ruling party candidate, the retired army general Evariste Ndayishimiye, has won the presidential election with 68.72% of the votes. The result was announced by the Burundi Electoral Commission after accusations of rigging by the opposition leader Agathon Rwasa. The vote was preceded by political violence, including the arrest, torture and murder of opposition activists. That's according to local rights groups. Rwasa declared on Sunday he would take his complaints to the Constitutional Court. Spanish authorities have started to lift more of the lockdown measures in the country's two main cities, Barcelona and the capital, Madrid. Restaurants and bars opened up their terraces, partially ending some of the strictest lockdown measures in Europe. Spain urged foreign tourists to return from July. The Spanish economy heavily relies on summer tourism, which accounts for more than 12% of Spain's economic output. As in Spain, Greece also aims to reopen its tourism economy before the beginning of the summer season. Local authorities have allowed the reopening of coffee shops, restaurants, bars and travel to the islands. They were cut off since the lockdown was enforced more than 2 months ago. Year-round hotels and campsites will all open on June the 1st, while on June the 15th all seasonal hotels will be able to open and international flights will be permitted to Athens International Airport.
Ich verkünde nunmehr im Namen des Volkes.
The highest civil court in Germany has ruled that Volkswagen must pay compensation to a motorist who had bought one of its vehicles fitted with the emissions cheating software. The ruling sets a benchmark for about 60,000 other cases in Germany and possibly around the world. The software was the centre of the so-called Dieselgate scandal in 2015, when Volkswagen admitted it had fitted its vehicles with an illegal device designed to manipulate the results of the diesel emissions tests. The movie star Idris Elba has hosted a star-studded virtual concert to mark Africa Day and raise funds to feed the continent's hungry. The MTV Base Africa Day benefit concert at home hosted the continent's top music stars and was streamed on YouTube and Viacom's CBS networks. Idris Elba said he hoped corporations across the continent would contribute to the initiative. A Singapore-flagged cargo ship has lost at least 40 containers in deep water off the coast of Sydney in Australia. The containers fell overboard in heavy seas when the vessel, the APL England, lost propulsion power in a journey from China to Australia. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority spotted some containers and debris in the water, but efforts to recover them were deterred by bad weather and poor visibility. An additional 74 containers were damaged and remained collapsed on the deck of the ship. And finally, remaining in Australia, an Australian filmmaker has captured these slow-motion, time-lapse videos of a dust storm hitting the west of the country as the region experiences its worst weather in a decade. Around 50,000 people were left without power due to storm-related outages, remnants of Cyclone Manga. The wild weather brought down trees and caused wind speeds of up to 130 kilometres per hour in some parts of the region. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.